Hello everyone, myself Fargo, and today I will be explaining about ancient Indian measurements, hasta, yojana, angula. In this presentation, I'll be explaining how ancient Indian people measured things and how those measurements are connected to real life and spirituality, and how those systems are still exist and are interlinked to modern science and technology. So these are the contents which I will be explaining today. So coming to introduction. So Indian knowledge system is a holistic framework which relates culture, science and philosophy, which are all connected, interlinked with ancient India. People back then didn't have any modern tools, but still they came up with a very practical and logical ideas to measure things. Their system was only based on human body, natural accuracy, and consistency. Because of that, it was simple, relatable, and something that could anyone use easily. For them, measurement was not only about the accuracy or numbers, it was about keeping balance and harmony. When we look into these systems today, we can actually see how beautifully they are interlinked with the uh, modern parameters and modern technology, and they are get hand in hand with the modern science. So the study of these units will help us to understand how knowledge in ancient India connected mathematics, environment, and human life. Principle behind Indian measurements. So, if we look into the principle behind this, the thought was that the human body represents the universe in miniature form. So, using it for measurements kept everything in proportion and consistent. So, ancient texts like Vedas and Vastu Shastras also highlight these connections with humans, nature, and the cosmos. These measurements could be almost used for anything, like, for example, building temples, performing rituals, or even in agriculture. The goal of these measurements wasn't to predict extreme precision like today's machineries will give, but the right proportion for something that felt natural and balanced. It shows how scientific and creative the people were even in ancient times without the modern technologies, and how they connected practical work with deeper meaning and understanding with the natural things itself. So coming to the measurements, that is angula, hasta and yojana. So ancient Indian civilization followed a systematic approach to measure based on human proportions and natural observation. They are mainly focused on something that is felt to their uh, existence, and they made everything possible based on that. So what is angula? Angula is basically a width of a finger representing precisions representing the precision in small scale measurements such as ornaments, carvings, or fine details in temples. Then hasta. Hasta, which means the length from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. This was used for measuring things like the height of the wall, size of the rooms, or even the land divisions. And comes the yojana, which is the largest unit, which was used to measure longest distances, like between cities, or even even yojana was also used in natural astronomy, and this were yojana was also used in geographical scales and astronomical calculations. It is believed that one yojana was roughly about 12 to 15 kilometers. So these were connected small units built up to larger ones, making a complete logical system. And in this image, you can see how the length and division of the day were uh, called and were measured. So here you can see one angula is 3 by 4 inches and one hasta is 18 inches and one danda means 6 feet and one yojana is 9 9 one and half 111 miles. So these were the measurements used and these were interlinked each other and these were calculated based on the size of the measurements. So coming to the practical applications of ancient measurement systems, in Vastu Shastra like angula and hasta were used to set proportions in temples, houses and idols. This is the reason that even today ancient Indian temples look perfectly balanced, symmetrical, and everything was actually built up on human proportions without any present day tools like scale or even uh, measuring tapes, etc. So astronomers like Aryabhata, Varahamihira employed yojana to calculate between celestial bodies and circumference of the earth. This astronomical calculations were given uh, nearest answers to the modern calculations which were given by modern scientists. So this is one of the achievements of this ancient Indian measurements. And in agriculture these measurements helped in dividing land equally and kept keeping the trade fair. So these applications demonstrate how scientific reasoning and practicality were deeply integrated into cultural and spiritual practices. So even today, if you can see the distance between Earth and the Moon were somewhat around 3 lakhs kilometers. So it was already calculated in those times by using these measurements, and it was 99.9% accurate with the current results and with the previous results using these measurements. So this system was not just used by the scholars; it was something which everyone used in their daily life. So it connected art, science, and daily living in a really practical and intelligent way. So next, coming to recent advancement and modern relevance. So, modern researchers have compared ancient Indian units with today's metric system and found that many were surprisingly accurate. Here you can see in this picture the scales between 10 to the power minus 6 and 10 cube were called like this, and these were pretty accurate to the current results of the atomic scales. And the days and the months are pretty accurate to the current measurements, and even the cycles are pretty even the years number of years are pretty accurate even in today's world. So archaeologists now use 3D scanning and computer modeling to study temples, and they have found that many structures are perfectly matched with ancient measurements mentioned in the text. And even today, some architects and designers use these old concepts when designing buildings, especially in Vastu based construction. So, and it's also nice to see that people are trying to bring back the old system through research and documentation. These studies highlight India's scientific heritage and its continuity with modern philosophy. And these measurements are not just part of the history, they still help us and the scholars understand how advanced our ancestors and how advanced the science back then. So, bridging ancient and modern measurement philosophies. So, Ancient Indian measurements systems were based on human proportions, symbolizing harmony between man and nature. So, current modern systems like SI units are based on universal physical constants, emphasizing precision and reproducibility. So, if we compare ancient systems with modern ones, both had the same goal, accuracy and consistency. But the difference in the is that ancient systems were based on human proportions and natural balances, while current system is based on uh, instruments and constants. So the mix of traditional and modern language actually gives us more complete understanding of measurements, one that's both logical and meaningful. By blending these two ideas, we can actually appreciate the accuracy of modern science and the human touch of ancient wisdom. And we can compare with the interlinkings of modern technology and how the modern technology evolved from the roots till the today's technology and measurements. And integration of ancient concepts in modern studies promoted cultural continuity and scientific appreciation. So, coming to conclusion, ancient Indian measurements systems like angula, hasta, and yojana show how advanced and thoughtful people were even thousands of years ago, and they weren't just fulfilling the rituals. They were actually applying the logic and creativity and science in everything they built or created. So, modern technology is now proving how accurate and well planned these old systems were actually are. And if we revisit every old data and current data, it actually interlinked 99.9% accurate, and we can appreciate how the ancient people measured things without much of the current technology, advanced technology. So modern research is actually validates the precision of these traditional units through research and digitalization reconstruction. So so we are learning how to connect culture, science, and innovation together. So it reminds us the progress isn't about replacing old ideas but actually improving, and how we can actually uh, apply it on the current technology and system, so that the current technology and system be much accurate and logical uh, with those systems which are in the ancient time. So, thus, these measurement systems form a timeless bridge between tradition and innovation, embodying the Indian knowledge system's holistic approach to science. So, this was the presentation about ancient Indian measurements, yojana, angula, and hasta. So, thank you for listening.